He was really in the middle because, like you said, it's young people. They are Israel critical. And he had to go and defend the bullshit of them at the campus, in the arena, in the pit.
Now you can't interview him.
Right. Right.
Right. And because when the internet people start going, how are you at all these different things? Like, what are the odds? Like, if someone ran it through one of the ChatGPT perplexity things, like, what are the odds that this guy would be at all those different events and be involved?
Charlie Kirk's wife and her alleged involvement in what happened with Charlie are now being exposed. Charlie knew that he would be, and reports that someone wanted Charlie gone and replaced are now making the rounds on social media. The people closest to Charlie betrayed him.
Not the Trump administration. I said a boulevard in Israel. It's pretty clear, not clear. What she said was, they, the Fed, give you a boulevard when that's a sure sign that they have killed. You know that they have killed. He was betrayed in the worst way possible, giving so much of his life to the Trump presidency, to politics. The federal government, the Trump administration, killed Charlie Kirk is the claim. Now I'm going to tell you how I feel about it, what I think about it. Because you know who else would have to be involved? And this is the implication, of course, by design. And you can see the response with people out there saying, oh, well, then anyone who's close to, this is an inside job. You know who's really close to President Trump? And you know who people are now saying stood to gain? Well, Charlie's wife, Erica Kirk, who has now been put, Candace, with that language, with this accusation, has put the wife of Charlie Kirk, and she'll say, that's not what I tried to do. It is. It's the result. Erica Kirk in the crosshairs. It's not like you have to look through 6 degrees of separation.
Someone wanted Charlie gone. And as you peel back the layers of everything that was happening up to Charlie's death, it all starts to make sense. Candace Owens, one of Charlie's closest friends, said that Charlie knew he was going to be betrayed, and that's exactly what happened. Charlie's death was planned, and it was all an attempt to replace Charlie. With Charlie now out of the way, Erica and Ben Shapiro have taken over.
The widow of conservative activist Charlie Kirk is taking over the organization her husband helped to establish. Erica Kirk was officially named as CEO of Turning Point USA by the group's board. In a post on social media today, the board said the organization will carry on and not surrender to evil. Charlie Kirk was fatally shot during an open-air event on the campus of Utah Valley University on September 10th. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is charged in his case. Charlie Kirk co-founded Turning Point USA in 2012. The group is credited with energizing the youth vote in Donald Trump's 2024 presidential election victory.
Love you, Erica. Charlie, 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 Charlie. Love you, Erica. Charlie, Charlie, Charlie.
Charlie's death was never properly investigated, and now there are reports that Egyptian military contractors landed at Provo Airport the same day Charlie Kirk was killed. Why was an Egyptian government Gulfstream at Provo Airport when Charlie Kirk was?
I can now report to you that it is a fact that on 9/4, there were, this was not some dropping by in Utah as they were trying to claim because the plane needed to be serviced. That's what they ran with. They ran with, this could have been a routine servicing. I guess there's just no place from Egypt all the way to Utah that an Egyptian military plane can get a tire changed. This is totally routine. Nothing to see here. Well, I'm telling you that for a fact, that plane was carrying military subcontractors. And for a fact, they were dropped off in Provo, okay? And that they did not make it back to Cairo. I showed you the plane left. They left on September 10th. It then laid over in Wilmington, Delaware, and departed back for Cairo on the 11th. I am telling you that when that plane left, okay, those people were mysteriously missing from that plane, okay? What's going on here? Why are Egyptian military subcontractors, what are Egyptian military subcontractors doing in the middle of Provo, Utah on the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated?
This might sound completely crazy, But it is way more believable than saying that a guy with no experience could use a from World War II and make such an accurate...
That this is his grandfather's rifle from World War I and doesn't have a serial code. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Why? Wait. Why are you using such an old... Like, that's kind of crazy. Like, is it possible that an old can be that accurate? If you have a gunsmith and they work on it, yeah, it's totally possible. You have a really good gunsmith and he sets... If you're like a nostalgic person, you like driving an old car, you could bring it to a mechanic, they could redo the brakes.
Sure.
So if you got a good smith and he took a look at that and the action was true and, you know, the bore is good, you know, yeah, you could conceivably with it for hundreds of years, right? They don't necessarily go bad.
Right. They don't expire.
Right. And especially because all this stuff, like the trigger and the action and all that different stuff is replaceable. So you could just like, it's compartmentalized. It's components. That's the other thing. They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the f up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not going to fit.
Not going to fit in a backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? What? What's that about?
Is that what they pitched, huh?
Yeah. And then he's supposed to get it in that stupid backpack. It's literally, it makes no sense.
And the elevator music was a nice touch, by the way.
Yeah. So this is just a narrative.
The decoy that the feds originally arrested was also super suspicious. You're telling me a random guy started saying, I did it right after he was someone who got murdered. That same person also conveniently happens to get arrested right after this on charges of it doesn't make sense.
According to the narrative. Now, let's be real clear. I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird going on with this.
I know.
First of all, there was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombing.
All the hits.
He called in a fake bomb at another place. And then he did this at this thing. Right after, so somehow or another, this guy has the state of mind that the moment someone gets shot, he yells out and says, I did it, and takes his pants down or something like that. I don't know exactly what he did. Then, ready for this? He gets arrested for child porn right away.
Right after this happened?
Oh, right away. He's in jail for child porn. Why is that? Well, now you can't interview him.
Right. Right.
Right. And because when the internet people start going, how are you at all these different things? Like, what are the odds? Like, if someone ran it through one of the ChatGPT perplexity things, like what are the odds that this guy would be at all those different events and be involved?
Charlie's death is being used to further a political agenda. Everything that Charlie and TPSUA stood for is being swept away. Things that Charlie was strictly against are now being done in his name.
You hope that. You hope that Charlie Kirk's death won't be used by a group we now call bad actors to create a society that was the opposite of the one he worked to build. You hope that. You hope that a year from now, the turmoil we're seeing in the aftermath of his murder won't be leveraged to bring hate speech laws to this country. And trust me, if it is, if that does happen, there is never a more justified moment for civil disobedience than that, ever. And there never will be. Because if they can tell you what to say, they're telling you what to think. There is nothing they can't do to you because they don't consider you human. They don't believe you have a soul. A human being with a soul, a free man, has a right to say what he believes, not to hurt other people, but to express his views.
Right after Charlie's death, his wife held a memorial where she kept talking about how she was going to take over after Charlie and continue the real mission of Turning Point. But here's the thing. What is the real mission of Turning Point? Charlie was slowly starting to become more and more anti-Israel. Candace Owens released text messages from Charlie, where Charlie said that he felt like he was being controlled.
It showed generally they were still aligned. More interesting was his interview with Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
Where clearly he platformed Tucker and you, and it seemed that supporting Israel was in contention, which they hate that that's even on the table, because it matters how you set the table. It doesn't necessarily even matter what your position is, but they don't want that to be up for debate. Do we support Israel? Not a question they want people to ask.
Well, especially when you're losing the debate.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that doesn't help either.
Yeah, especially when you get booed and, in the debate, they don't like that either. And so even that, they were really pushing back on Charlie, threatening. I guess the new revelation is they took the money. They took the $2 million. It's a pretty big organization, but that's not a negligible chunk of change for Charlie and Turning Point USA. And he goes in the group chat, and assuming, like you said, that it's authentic, that is, I think, the most stark thing we've heard from him on the record, where he says, I have to leave the Israel camp. And I would say that's even different than what he said on Megyn Kelly. Because on Megyn Kelly, he said, oh, you're going to call me an anti-Semite? He sort of stopped himself. He said, well, you're going to lose me. That's what he was going towards.
Yeah, and then,
you're not going to lose me. He goes, but I'm going to be deflated. In that text, he says, I'm out. And I would characterize that as I was his rival, and I'm very cynical about him. He was kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. He was really in the middle because, like you said, it's young people. They are Israel critical, and he had to go and defend the bull to them at the campus, in the arena, in the pit.
One more thing rather explosively. 3 people told me off record. 2 people who have this in a written communication from Charlie. One who is a Turning Point USA donor, and I would say very much one of the white knights in this. The very day before Charlie Kirk died, he expressed that he thought he was going to be killed. He told these people, I think they're going to kill me. Okay. He did not express that to me. So I am telling you this based off the testimony of 3 people. And I am saying this because I hope that these people who I think are good will be inspired to come forward with that. Now, again, those conversations I had were off record. I honor that. If I say it's off record, it stays off record. But I'm hoping that watching what I am doing and feeling the energy that is rising across the world for people who want to know what the heck happened on 9/10, that, they will be brave and they will say, yeah, Charlie did the day before he died think that he was going to be, and maybe tell us, who is they? Well, for once and for all, who is they? Who is the they that he thought were going to?
Turning Point. USA has confirmed that the text messages are real and that Charlie did send them. Even in interviews, Charlie was saying the same thing. He was being controlled and forced to say things that he didn't agree with. A month before his death, Charlie spoke to Megyn Kelly about being terrified of his Israeli donors and about approaching certain topics. How he was stepping through a minefield trying to satisfy his owners and his audience at the same time.
But I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friends' trust in that way. But I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people.
Hours after Charlie's death, the Niger, Utah cover-up started trending. Was Tyler a scapegoat or was someone helping him? Someone close to Charlie betrayed him. And once you piece all the clues together, it becomes clear just who that person was.
They're trying to replace Usha Vance with Erica Kirk. Because Erica Kirk and J.D. Vance is their Christian nationalist wet dream. And you won't convince me otherwise. Because what is this? What is this body language? When did we start putting our hands up in the hair of our friends when we hug? Yeah, no, you don't. This is weird. Oh, and then there's this one. JD, why are your hands so low? There's no reason for them to be on her hips, but there they are. But if that's not enough, here is her introducing him at Turning Point.
I am tremendously blessed and honored tonight to be able to introduce to you a very, very dear friend and his wife. They are incredible. And I see no one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD and Vice President JD Vance. I do.
And if you're not convinced yet that they're trying to replace her with Erica Kirk, this is him when asked by a student about him and his wife's difference in like their religious beliefs, and he ends it with this.
Do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way.
He wants her to fall in line. He wants her to be a Christian nationalist just like him. And if he can't convince her, he'll find a new one.
Erica's body language, the way she acted after Charlie's death, and even how she grieved. Everything was dissected and it looked manufactured. Even the way that Erica met Charlie, her career, it all seemed like a lie. One user on Twitter said, "Boy, when the truth comes out about Erica Kirk, folks are going to be mind blown. Poor Charlie had no idea who he was really married to." These people are some of the weirdest people out.
No. We were late for our flight, and I'm not going to come off like a crazy person with a, that's just weird. That ended up being Charlie. Nothing is by coincidence. Now, did we know that? No, not until we were like 3 months into our relationship and looking at timestamps, seeing that both of us were in Israel at the same time.
People, this was so arranged. And there's so much more to Erica Kirk. Kind of like how she was all into basketball, didn't want to be all girly, never liked to dress up, even cut all her hair off and ended up being Miss USA. How does that happen? How do you go from sports to Miss USA? And then they meet at a Turning Point event in 2018, where she's interviewing for a job for Turning Point. Solidified. I got a feeling there's more to the story here.
There were even some rumors that Erica might actually have been a honeypot designed to trap Charlie, with some people even saying that Erica was planted or placed into his life.
Erica Kirk is either the epitome of what it means to be a MAGA woman who dumbs herself down and minimizes her success in the name of the man and the movement, or she is a honeypot. Because there's been speculations that Kash Patel is in a honeypot relationship, and that would kind of make sense, right? Like, you want to keep those guys close. You want to keep those guys together. You want to keep those guys controlled, right? If you don't know what a honeypot is, it's normally when a very attractive woman is used to control, manipulate, keep an eye on, guide a man, right? Erica Kirk has a law degree. She has a doctorate. She has 2 bachelor's degrees. She's 5 years older than Charlie. She had a successful basketball career in college. She had a successful pageantry career. And then in 2018, she runs into Charlie Kirk for the first time. And then they're very, very quickly married within, I think it's like 3 years or whatever. First of all, they've only been together for 7. I've keep seeing people say they've been floating around for like 10 years or whatever. They haven't. They've only been together for 7 years. This isn't some godly, long, profound, relationship that a lot of these people, they bring these people in MAGA, the high school sweethearts, whatever. She's either dumbed herself down to fit the narrative of what it means to be a MAGA woman, or she's a honeypot. Who else runs honeypot operations?
Charlie was never going to give up control of Turning Point USA. But now someone that follows the official narrative is on board. At the same time, the investigation into Charlie's death has all but stopped. It's just surprising that ever since Kash Patel took over as the director of the FBI, all the criminals have confessions typed out on bullets.
It's the heart-wrenching moment Charlie Kirk's widow whispers her final goodbye to her slain husband in his casket.
I love you. God bless you.
She shared her unimaginable grief in a video diary that included showing his casket being placed in the hearse for its final journey. Today, 36-year-old Erica is being compared with another young widow, Jackie Kennedy, who famously returned to Washington still wearing the suit covered in JFK's blood following his assassination. Foundation in 1963. Erica also stood next to her late husband's empty chair in the studio where he recorded his popular podcast. She spoke about the heartbreaking moments she had to tell their 3-year-old daughter, Gigi, that her father was never coming back.
She goes, "Where's Daddy?" What do you tell a 3-year-old? She's 3. I said, "Baby, Daddy loves you so much. Don't you worry. He's on a work trip with Jesus."
Choking back tears, she said she was taking on Kirk's political movement, Turning Point USA.
The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry.
Arizona. Erica is no stranger to the spotlight. She is a former Miss Arizona, competing in the Miss USA pageant in 2012.
Erica Franzway, 23, Arizona.
She also appeared on a dating show in 2019, season 3 of Bravo TV's Summer House.
The way Trump reacted to Charlie's death and seemingly dismissed it was also criticized. Keep in mind, Charlie dedicated his life to Trump and dropped out just so he could grow Trump's message. Trump, however, made jokes about Charlie's death, even saying at one point that he couldn't care less about the situation. He even danced during Charlie's memorial while standing next to his widow.
And we're going to look into that.
What do we do about our country with that? Because we have radicals on the right as well. We have radicals on the left. People are watching all of these videos and cheering. Some people are cheering that Charlie was killed. How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime.
Law enforcement fired sniper rifles at ICE agents and me, but I made a turn at a good time. I turned to the right. Charlie couldn't believe it, actually. He said, "How the hell did you make that turn?" I said, "I don't know."
One user on Twitter even said, Charlie dedicated a decade of his life to fueling causes that benefit Donald Trump, activating the youth and converting them, being a soldier for the right, so on and so forth. Now, in his death after he was identified and not somebody that can be politicized by his party, Donald Trump devoted half of a second to Charlie Kirk before plugging his new White House ballroom.
My condolences on the loss of your friend, Charlie Kirk. May I ask first, how are you holding up for the last 3.5 years?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty. It'll be an absolutely magnificent structure. And I just see all the trucks. We just started. So it'll get done very nicely, and it'll be one of the best anywhere in the world, actually.
Thank you so much.
Your message.
Candace. Owens thinks that the highest levels of government are involved with what happened to Charlie. The way Charlie's real message was hidden and his agenda was shaped to look more pro-Israel.
And then when Trump rushed to tweet out that, or Truth Social out that photo, that AI photo of him and Charlie with the Star of David in the background, I just knew. I knew the investigation into who murdered Charlie Kirk was officially over, right? The officials wanted nothing to do with it because there was nobody more psychotically insistent that people stop asking questions about Charlie's death immediately. I mean, early hours, right? Than the people that are dedicated to the Israel lobby, right? These individuals, if you go back, people that are pro-Israel for whatever reason, were like, do not look any further into this death. In fact, I'll challenge you, do me a favor. Find me one.
The most shocking part of the story is how Charlie predicted his death. Candace Owens revealed that Charlie had drafted a private memo, one that was never meant to be public, where he outlined his concerns about foreign influence within Turning Point itself. According to her, Charlie wasn't afraid of his life, but he knew that something big was coming.
And then I felt the need to start going through messages and conversations between me and Charlie. And sure enough, I stumbled upon many messages of him telling me how he would die. And I'm going to show you some of those messages now. a particular set of messages that were written on April 6th, 2018, just a couple of weeks before Kanye tweeted, "I love the way Candace Owens thinks," which is relevant because a lot of things changed after that tweet. And it's relevant because Charlie sensed that something big was about to happen. And I think that is what the something big was. I also want to say, obviously, I am not making up these messages. Okay. Turning point. Actually, Mikey McCoy has access to all of Charlie Kirk's messages. They can tell you that these ones are real. Here is what he wrote. We were again talking about Kanye. Charlie wrote to me, "You're going to be the Iron Lady of America." He had such a political vision for me. I never wanted that sort of a thing. I see it so freaking clearly. I might be Moses, though. I might not see this whole thing through. LMAO. If that is the case, be my David. I said, "Dude, you haven't even realized your power yet. He's like, "You're so young," was what I was thinking. He said, "If I tell you the true prophecy that I know in my gut, it's really sad, but I hope it's wrong." He went on to say, "Anyway, I am not sure if I will live to see the end of this revolution. I believe you were the piece that God meant me to meet that will finish the fight. Since the beginning of TPUSA, I knew in my gut that I might get wiped out at any time. I cannot explain it, but I dream about it all the time, like all the time. Anyway, that's depressing combo for another time, LMAO. I said, "That's weird, more of a fear manifestation than an actualization." He said, "I'm not really afraid of it, but I'm just telling you what I know to be true." And he told me that. I don't know why. Charlie knew he was going to die young. And I don't know. I just felt like I needed to share that because it is in part why the moment that Charlie got shot, I just knew he was betrayed spiritually. In the same way that Charlie knew that he was going to die young, I knew that this was a part of something bigger. And so I wanted to say to you guys.
On her radio program, commentator Megyn Kelly revealed that days before Kirk's tragic death, Jezebel released an article in which staff writers claimed to have cursed Charlie. Witches were hired to spiritually break him down. One witch delivered a burn picture of Kirk's face as evidence that they performed the curse. "To ruin his day with the collective feminist power of the Etsy coven would be my life's greatest joy," the article said.
And while their article about all of this it was published on Monday, September 8th, it makes clear that the writer contracted for the curse in late August. She says she wanted it to line up with the new moon in Virgo, which this year meant August 23rd. That tracks because she points out in the piece that by August 24th, she was waiting impatiently for results. The witch, they reveal, promised on August 23rd that, quote, "You will see the first results within 2 to 3 weeks." This was 18 days before Charlie was. Not satisfied with this curse, the amped up one alone, Jezebel reached out to a, quote, third witch, Priestess Lilyn. Jezebel opined, if enough people cursed a single person, would the results be stronger? Quote, "When I asked her if she'd noticed more political figures being targeted these days, she said yes." The next day, Lilyn sent the Jezebel writer proof of the hex she had cast, quote, "A photograph in flames, the edges slowly curling inward, engulfing Charlie's ridiculous, scrunched up little face." She whispered, "I imagine," writes the Jezebel reporter, "trust the unseen." Chills, writes Jezebel. Sunday, August 24th passed, writes the author, and nothing. Monday, August 25th, still nothing. Tuesday, August 26th, nothing. But then she writes, she reminded herself, this is witchcraft, not Amazon. The forces operate on their own schedule. The Jezebel writer ends the piece as follows. So, did my Etsy curses work? Time will tell. The forces move in mysterious ways. And as the priestess Lilyn reminded me, spell work is a collaboration between the caster, the client, and the universe itself. For now, we can only trust in the timing of the great unknown. To you, Mr. Kirk, may the rash come swiftly. 2.5 weeks after those curses were requested and cast, 2 days after Jezebel published that article, Charlie was killed by an assassin's bullet.
The question that's on everyone's mind. If Charlie was targeted, then who was controlling everything from behind the scene? For this, Candace Owens has a terrifying answer. She claims it wasn't just politics. It wasn't just enemies in the media. According to Candace, there's an entire network, powerful, hidden, and organized, that decides who rises and who falls. And when someone steps out of line, they're removed.
My heart
Whether you
aches for the
believe her
fact
or
that he
not,
gave so much of
her
his
words
life
sent shockwaves
to
across
Trump into
social media.
politics, and
Some called her brave.
they just were like,
Others said
nope,
she'd gone too far.
that is it. It serves us or it doesn't serve us, and we want to move on. And so here's a holiday. Bro, if they try to give me a holiday, what is with them giving people a holiday after they kill them? Why is that a thing? You know what I mean? Like, oh, Martin Luther King, what about this holiday? What about this boulevard? Anyways, let me knock it off. Like, they're going to give Charlie Kirk a boulevard. They already did. They did in Israel. They gave him freaking boulevard. It's like, as soon as they give you a boulevard and a holiday, they definitely killed you. Okay, there's no question. They killed you. There's no way. That's like their signature thing. It's like, that's what they do. It's the Fed signature. It's how they sign off after they murder you. They're like holiday and a boulevard. And it's never on a nice side of town either. Like Charlie Kirk Boulevard is not going to be a nice side of town. Anyways, I will be back on the 27th, you guys. Thank you guys for all the support throughout these couple of weeks, these last really kind of 6 weeks since Charlie died. And we will see you guys then.
Charlie Kirk may be gone, but the questions surrounding his final days are louder than ever. What really happened to Charlie Kirk? Who stood to gain the most, and why are so many people trying to make sure the truth never comes out? Let me know what you think in the comments, because this story, it's only just getting started.